Our second scrimmage of fall camp kind of ends fall camp in my mind. Even though we started school this week, really the camp was the 2 week long, and you kind of have a preseason game one last Saturday and preseason game two. I think the one thing I've got to figure out from our spring game was kind of the weather was iffy, but the two trips we've made in the stadium, we've in my eyes, and maybe it's just the size of the stadium, but we seem flat. And practices this week were really, really good. Y'all got to see one, and I thought the energy was good, and I didn't sense that same energy. And, boy, that's got to – and maybe it changes when the stadium's full. I don't know. But, boy, when we get a chance to go in that stadium and play, there's got to be some juice. And, again, maybe it's been a while since I've been in a stadium that size, and I'm making – but that's what kind of was on my mind. Then, secondly, just good God, we had SEC officials today, and I got to watch the film. I don't know if, they hadn't done anything in a year, and they were flag happy. So I've got to look and see if all these holds and pass interferences but we had the good thing, it was not any of the, we had one, but on field goal team, but it wasn't many procedural things or alignment. It was all, we got a hold here, or we got a block below the waist here, or we've got pass interference here, or so we got to clean those things up, because it was, you'd have a hard time today. We had some really explosive runs called back for holds, and so those are the two things that stood out to me negatively. We had one turnover that was, a good play by the defense, probably a poor decision I hadn't watched the film, but from where I was standing on Peyton, on the throw, and it sailed a bit on him, and so it was good to see the defense get a takeaway. That's the only turnover we had, and boy, I thought we ran the ball well again, and I thought Shane Hooks made some really, really, really nice catches, and we got to get others to come along in that room too. Peyton and Robbie both had really solid days. It looks like Peyton was 12 for 17, 2 TDs and a pick. I don't know how many yards. And Robbie was 8 for 15 and 2 TDs. Holden was 7 for 11. So I thought, we, threw and caught it fairly well. Really, outside the penalties and us not stopping the run, and just me feeling like it was kind of flat in there, I thought we got good work in, and it's a good way to end camp. And now it's time for us to get a lot of those guys out of those yellow jerseys, hopefully, and get them healthy with 2 weeks to go, and get us a game plan in that we're making sure we're not making mental errors with routes, depths of routes, understanding of landmarks that we need to be at. And I don't know how much of that there was. I know there was a couple of those, but until I watch the film, I won't know. But I know there were a few that I thought really, really hurt a play, because, the receiver's supposed to convert or something, and he doesn't, and it's disaster. Really, the best you can hope for when that happens is an incomplete pass and not a sack. So I know I'm rambling a bit, but I think looks like rushing-wise, Jeremiah had the most carries today, but all of them ran well. All of them ran the ball well. So, all right, questions?
Yes, Coach. What sort of stood out about Shane Hooks today, and basically all fall? What have you liked about him?
Well, he's a big target, and I wish he played the game a little faster, and we've got to get him to do that. I think some of that comes from maybe not playing against the speed at this level yet. But if we can get him convinced to run every route and knowing, dude, you can get a break if, but run this route like the game depends upon it. And I think that's the case, truthfully, with a lot of our transfer receivers. You take, now again, some people have been hurt, and I really hadn't seen them. Camden Brown practiced the last 2 days and had a touchdown catch today, which was nice to see. But Malcolm is not practicing right now, and Coy has not practiced. He got hurt in summer workouts, still hasn't practiced, but he's getting closer. But it seems like the transfers, the new guys, I've got to get them to play faster all the time. And Shane is the same way, but I tell you, he made, I don't know how many catches today, but I don't even know where to look. The guy made some really nice catches and runs after the catch, and then one of the touchdowns he caught was kind of like if it were a game, it would be on Sports Center tonight. One of those type one-handed type back of the end zone grabs. So he had a really solid day.
Coach, what did you learn about your team today the most, and were you guys able to use this scrimmage to maybe slide in some game prep for UMass?
No, we're still so new as a team, and I told them in the team meeting this morning, man, it's now time to, whether you just got here, whether you've been here 4 years or whatever, man, it is we. It ain't no old and new, it is we, and play so well that I don't have a choice but to acknowledge it. And I think we're still kind of a football game to me is a bunch of individual plays that go for 65 of those or 80 of those, whatever you play on either side of the ball. And it's the culmination of how well you're able to put the last one behind you and play the next one. Irregardless of how good the last one was or how bad the last one was, do we have the ability to put that in the trash and play the next one? And teams that win most of those individual plays have probably a better chance of winning the game if turnovers and things are the same. And I don't know that we're still I think we're still learning to do that. There's still some of the holdover from, well, man, we just lost 5 yards. Play the next play. There's nothing we can do about that. And I don't need to hear it, and you don't need to talk about it. Let's play the next one. If we talk about it, it needs to be on the sideline. That's where all the adjustments and corrections need to be made. We don't need to talk about it out there, and I think there's still some of that I've got to get, and that's the mental part of the game. And so that's probably and whatever I felt on the lack of real enthusiasm and passion, and again that could have been because of the stadium and these Guardian hats. Maybe I'm fooled, but I missed the sound of the contact, and I asked Jake, dude, are we even coming off the ball? I can't hear anything, and and I think that's some of it too, but really it's the mental side of the game. Are we mentally tough enough to play the whole composition of the 80-play game without the last play affecting us, good or bad? So I think that's where we still have work to do. The positive, we've been able to run the football. And if that's, if you're able to do that, you got a fighting chance. And I've said this to y'all before, it's hard for me to ever leave happy, so I don't know if that means we're pretty good at running it or we're not very good at stopping it. We'll see soon. But we've taken care of the ball offensively, and we've been able to run it, which the teams I've coached that have been able to do that, I think you have a fighting chance.
Coach, at practice on Thursday, I know you talked about kind of changing up combinations with the offensive line. There was an interesting group there. I think it was a gunner inside at left guard. What kind of are you looking for in some of these different groups on the offensive line? And did you just
today? Well, I think when you travel, you're depending on. We haven't even gone over I haven't had to abide by this 70-man travel deal in a long time, and when you do that, you got to decide, is it 8, is it 9, is it 10 offensive linemen that you're going, and you want your best 5 out there as much as you can. And it's a case of a guy that has stood out in the entire camp. His body has changed since he got here, and that he has stood out all camp is Xavier Miller too tall. And we can't keep him off the field. He's going to have to play. And so Gunner is a guy that he knows all 5 spots, and so that gives us some flexibility to maneuver around. And Gunner's played well too now, don't get me wrong. We're going to need them both. But, that's just a case of us just trying to make sure we're ready for all different combinations and getting him live reps there and at right tackle. And we got him some at center one day. And we got Connor Lou some at guard. We're just trying to get all those combinations prepared.
Coach, you announced Peyton as the starting quarterback earlier this week. You've in the past you've used your backup quarterback to supplement the run game. What's the plan for Robbie? How often do you expect to go to Robbie early in the season?
I think the game dictates a lot of that, and obviously when we start watching film on the opponent, what we think is our best chance to win. I've said it from the get-go. Robbie, if he handles things the right way, he has to get on that field some. He's different. And he's probably had his best 3 practices, the last 3 practices. And so I'm really proud of him, and he's going to push Peyton if he keeps continuing to play like this. Peyton's going to have to play really well. And so I love the competition. I think that's the only way you get better at this level. And they fool themselves if they think there's not competition elsewhere in other schools. This is the way it should be. At this level of a program, we ought to have 3 or 4 quarterbacks that can push each other. And I think every game will be different, but the one thing that I've said and I mean is that guy's different now, and he's got to get some touches. And he threw it well today. So,
Coach, after the scrimmage last week, you had some concerns and definitely looking for a stronger week at practice this week. And so what's the biggest difference from a position group or maybe a particular player in growth that you saw from last Saturday to this Saturday?
What I found in practice, one of the reasons I kind of, I appreciate all that you guys do to cover us and letting you guys attend is I think that I've kind of found out this team and this staff right now. I think every DNA of every team I've coached is a little different, and every staff is different. And I'm truthfully, the last 4 years, I haven't had to be the how shall I say it, the practice jerk. But I've kind of found out that I need to be that here. And calling people out, or I like to refer to it as calling people up. But I think I'm needed to do that here. And so I know you asked me about players, but I think it's more I'm figuring out the coaches too and what I need to do to motivate our team. And that's probably the biggest thing that I thought we had better practices this week because I chose to take the lead on this is how we're going to do it. And I thought we got better. It was back and forth, team run. Defense played really well 2 days, and offense got the best of them some days too. And that's probably the way it should be. But if I had to say a group that I thought probably got a little bit better this week, it would have to be, I thought our DBs got better at tackling, at guarding. We're still struggling to get off blocks in the front 6 some with our front and our linebackers. We've got to continue to work on that and improve it, and it would help if we can get some guys out of yellow jerseys for sure too. But I don't know if I answered your question or not, truthfully.
You've got quite a few candidates as far as returners. Is anybody who's settling in as your kickoff and punt returners?
Well, Batee will get the nod at kickoff return to start with. I do think we have other options too, but he's proven to be one of the nation's best, and so I think he'll get the nod there. Probably Keontae Scott will. But Caleb Burton's really solid at punt catching, and and returning there too. But probably Keontae will get the nod at punt return. He's done it before in this league, and he's pretty calm. So that's probably the way it will. We'll have a couple running backs back there on kickoff, but if we can design it to where we think they're going to kick it, it'll be Batee getting that option.
Do you think you saw a little bit less pressing from Peyton today now that he knows he's the starter?
Yeah. He had two really bad decisions, I thought, but then settled in and I thought played really solid. And thought he pulled a couple good quarterback runs, and obviously we're blowing it pretty quick. I don't know. Be anxious, when it gets real to see what he does. But I thought he played, solid after. I think it was the first two possessions. I thought he made two poor choices, and then he settled in and played really well.
You mentioned the DBs earlier and just the growth you've seen from them. From the start of camp to now, how much have you seen those guys kind of take up what you had challenged them on doing earlier?
Yeah, I think DJ and Pritchett are practicing at a higher level. And, it's really easy if you think you're the guy, in which they are. It's really easy to coast. And I thought they coasted some the first week. And I thought they turned it on this week and practiced like they should be. Both of those have the potential to be like all SEC type players, whether it's first team, second team, whatever. So practice like it. And so I called them, if you can call your best players out and they respond well, it sure helps you as a coach with everybody else. And so I thought they kind of flipped the switch a little bit and had a better week, which kind of translated to Simp. And Keontae, you always get a lot out of him. And Puckett, I think that's a solid group there. Now, the growth really has to come on with that second team because it's a bunch of young puppies. I think they're going to be good. But they're swimming a little bit with all the motions or shifts and different coverages, and I really look forward to us getting a game plan in where we see, all right, they can handle this much, and we're smart coaches if we don't give them more than they can handle.
The running back group, it continues to, you knew you had guys, but it continues to grow as Jeremiah Cobb comes on, Sean Jackson in there. How do you try to handle guys that can do so many things and you don't have to count on one guy?
I don't know. That's a great problem to have. You keep them fresh, and you hope they keep pounding. But you're never going to get all of them as many carries as they want. But it's a good problem to have. I wish we had that problem at every room. But I like our depth there.
Hugh, you mentioned some of the non-contact jerseys. Was Keldrick able to go today?
He tried, but he's not ready.
Was Jalen McLeod able to go?
No. So we were without, Jalen, Coy, Keldrick, Malcolm, Austin Keys, like there was somebody else, but and Nick Mardner too. So we were without some guys that we're counting on for sure. Yep.
Yes, Tutal Miller, you mentioned him earlier. What are some things that's really stood out about him and the areas he's improved?
And from the time he's gotten here, the job Dom's done with him, his body and his feet are really, really good. He's going to be a really, really good offensive lineman, and he's these catapult deals and that we wear. His explosion is really, really good. He's strong. He's got explosion. He's got flexibility. We need to keep recruiting guys like that.
Coach, talk about what you saw from the jack position today. Were you guys able to generate pressure on the quarterback today from that position?
Steven Sings had a sack, maybe two. Obviously, Jalen's not able to go, so we didn't get to see him. Thought Elijah was really solid against the run at times, but the pass rush really came from the ones I remember without watching the film came from either an inside twist or Sings off the edge, or obviously pressure. Yep, thank you guys.